Alright guys, welcome back. Overwatch League has started! Plug, 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 clap, 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 clap. We're all very excited. Time to start reviewing some games. We're gonna have a lot of Overwatch League games to review. This was the first match, and I think it was the more interesting match that we saw on the first day. Houston Outlaws taking on the Dallas Fuel. No spoilers of what happens, but it was a very, very good match. So let's just get started. We're just gonna run it down and go from there. I guess we can turn on Matt and Mitch. Happy dominance. Happy impressed me a lot in this series. As not only just his McCree that absolutely pounded, the fact that he can play Tracer as well is so important. Because that means I'm kind of the belief then that they should just always play Dante Happy. When do you not play Dante Happy? Like maybe in a double flex DPS? Like that, but Dante is insane. I think if you watch the series, Dante is just crazy, and we're gonna see that throughout the thing. His Echo, his Sombra. But Happy on the career is very impressive. And we saw a lot of Dallas. So obviously this is the moment where we're starting to see it. So Dallas don't have Xe, so therefore they don't have a hit scan player. So they're gonna lean away from the hit scan as much as they can. And they played this Doomfist Reaper dive, which I really don't like, but we can see how it plays out. Houston Outlaws playing the Brawl without a Mei, which makes sense because I don't think at this point Houston are expecting them to play against a Brawl setup. So they play the Sombra expecting maybe a Wrecking Ball. I didn't know if I liked the Sombra against the Winston dive. I still don't think I like it, but Dante makes it work. So no juicier. No Jake, no win. I think if Jake was ever going to play, he would have played on Havana of this series when they played the double shield. So the Moira was a throw. Moira's just, yeah, I think they were expecting to be able to go faster. So then they mirror the Brawl here, right? But they do it with a Doomfist. Doomfist Mei, and I don't really like Doomfist Mei. Obviously, it works for them a little bit later in the series, but it feels like it's so linear, right? It's like we're going to run at you, and they don't have any off angles. They don't really have much range damage. Like they have to get in your face. And as you can see here, this enables the Houston Outlaws to just run, right? They're just holding the S key because they have a Sombra. Look, and then the Sombra EMPs, everybody dies. And that's the Houston Outlaws win condition. And they have the McCree picking from distance. Like Happy can always just get range damage and just keep picking at them. And Happy does that. Like Happy gets pick after pick after pick. Jake sees 2 maps max all season. I don't know about that. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know if Dallas have many options. I think we see them play it better on Kings Row, and we'll get there. But this map, I think, is really bad for the composition that they're playing. Right? Like they can't stop the Houston Outlaws from, like, you see Houston doesn't even want to fight them. He forces them onto the point, at the point where their backline can just stay on the high ground, and then just can play safe, and then you can see. It just becomes really hard because Crim's on the high ground, Happy on the high ground. How do you win that? This is the point that I think everyone was like, oh no, this could be really bad. Why are teams not playing the inting hard Doomfist? And that was a really interesting, and I want to see if this is just like a high-end team thing. But we didn't see as much Brawl as I was expecting. We saw way more Winston than I think we saw Brawl. And especially like Winston Ana in a lot of situations. And we even saw some double shield. I think Shock want to play Brawl. Like from what we saw from that series, Shock want to play Brawl all the time. And obviously there are some exceptions. You can't play it on Gibraltar. They just wanted to play Winston. But the fact that they were willing to play fucking double hit scan, like Soldier McCree, with a Rhine on Ilios, sort of shows their hand that they don't really want to line up with the double bubble. Piggy Diva wasn't bad as people were calling. Piggy and Django were both very good. If anyone thinks those players are bad, they're just stupid. Piggy and Django played so well, and I think this point specifically sort of highlights that. I am surprised we didn't see as much Ashe as we did in today. Like, right, we saw a lot of Echo Tracer and stuff like that. And this is smart by the Houston Outlaws, bringing Dante out on this Echo, right? They don't have a hit scan to counter him, so Dante is essentially free in the air. They can play very greedy playing an Echo and an Ashe and just doing so much range damage.
I want to see if Dallas ever goes towards like some type of hit scan. Like, do we see them even try and put Sparkle on?
Nero over Glister in the double hit scan comp made no sense. I think that is because they potentially might have wanted to play Mei. Jimmy did a good job this series. Jimmy was okay this series, yeah. I think it was pretty good. Yo, it's me, Limmy. Thank you very much for freshening up. Is that you, Danny? Is that you I see in here? Thank you very much, Danny. Yo, Luigi Sly. Sorry, I missed your sub, a 3-month sub as well. Love the tone and direction of the broadcast this year. Thank you very much. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. Sorry, you enjoying it. I love you. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. As I said, the desk direction has changed a lot. Instead of being very, like, last year we were very cut and dry, just analytical, just like bang, 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 right? While this season we're trying to go a lot more mellow with it, with a lot more skits and segments. That's just more fun and more fun toned. I think Jex and Fielder really struggled in this series. Like, I think Fearless and Harmon were both very good, and I think they were a lot of the saving graces. Also, Sparkle Tracer, surprisingly good as well. Sparkle Tracer was actually not bad. So I was pretty happy with it. Obviously, there's a massive lack of just not being able to play that hit scan and side by side that, but... This is the fight that I really like and I referenced a lot. So here we go, and we have... Wait, is it this fight? I think it's this fight. Yeah, so what happens is their entire backline dies to Fearless, right? But Django and Piggy, instead of overcommitting, they actually both disengage. Instead of being like, we need to cap the point, and the most like Houston Outlaws thing ever to just like int onto the point to just get like a little bit of percentage, both of them actually disengage, don't fight for the point, and then they just let Juby come back with the rally. Django goes and gets a mega. Piggy touches at the last second with the Diva Bomb, and then boom, like they actually like recontest and they just win that fight. That was so easily a lost fight, but they turned it into a winning fight. And that's like, that's not something you would have seen from Houston past. And I think that's the balance of Django and Piggy was very good. And I think they also did a good job recognizing just not forcing ults and playing around their team. So it's the pure opposite of the Outlaws' usual play. And that was what was so impressive about it, right? And that's why I think a lot of people who draw comparisons to the old school Houston is like, Houston will find a way to fuck it up. The only person who really played on this team this entire series is Dante, who came from the Outlaws. And let's be honest, Dante was never the problem at the Outlaws. So, like, it's very much a whole new roster that has its own ideologies and its own style. And I think you saw that as well.
Wobble, motherfucker.
Project Memo with the 53 months Dallas Circle of Misery again? I don't think so. I think Dallas actually impressed me. They did a lot better than I thought they were going to do, given the situation and the limitations that they had without a hit scan, right? I think they were really good. Especially seeing as I didn't think they would be able to match up to Houston in Brawl, but they very much did on Kings Row, so. My butt was clinched when it came to Game 5. Yeah, and that's it, like, even more stated. Houston wins map 5, right? Like, that's never happened. It's unprecedented. I love the permanent face cams. Honestly, the biggest upgrade of everything is just, like, all the assets for Overwatch League. Like, think about it. We've been using the same assets since Season 1. Of, like, the way they put the stats on the screen, the way everything functioned. We have a completely overhauled. We have new face cams in the bottom left. Like, look how cool this is to be able to see Fearless. Like, there was a sweet moment in Shock versus Gladiators where Space loses his mech on Iconwold at the last second, and you see him be like, ah, fuck. And, like, that's sick to watch. It's love to see that, like, personality behind the moments that happen. And like that's so cool to see, and it adds this extra element. So honestly, all the assets, whoever made all the assets, everything looks really good. The player cams, the team shots, all that kind of stuff has been very good. And this was actually a really good turnaround by Dallas on this round. Like I thought they were out on this. But we end up in this like double Tracer Sombra mirror, which I don't really like. I don't know if I like Happy mirroring the Sombra against Doha, and you sort of saw a weakness come about it here because you're kind of playing Dallas Fuel's bread and butter, other than obviously Sparkle and Tracer. But as I said, like you're gonna see here, like this clip here, I was like, dude, Sparkle, Tracer, kinda clean.
Wobble wobble, motherfucker.
Yo, Housey, thank you for the 5 months. Hey, good job out there today. Thank you very much. Like, Sparkle's going head-to-head with Dante, right? Like, obviously, Dante had his back against the wall, and that's not a Sparkle win. But, like, Sparkle's at least holding his own against Dante, who is one of the better Tracers in the league. And look at this stick. Ooh! Nice little spicy brig stick. That's hard to do. Being from the Sporkle. Sporkle doing work. I'm not surprised everything looks better. Yeah, and it's good that they did an overall thing. Everyone having their cams at all times, the broadcast desk, everything. So he made, yeah, exactly. He made Dante have to work. He made Dante have to prove why he's so good, right? Instead of Dante just walking over the team and you're just sort of like kicking and crying and screaming and just being like, please stop it, just let Dante let them live. It was more like, oh shit, Dante's bragging. And here's the thing. Also, this is fucking great. This is my favorite. This is my favorite moment of the day. This is what I should have was my favorite day. Let's just do it. Yo, wait, first let me hit this. Dragon Wolf, the 5 gifted subs. Thank you very much. Dragon Wolf for another 5 gifted subs. Much love. Cat with the 17 months as well. Hey, Sky from the Overwatch thing. Yo, what's up? And then Sharkbait with the 5,000 bits. Again, Corgi Cheerio mode to remind you of how much you should get a Corgi. Hey, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Wobble wobble, motherfucker.
For the Outlaws.
Excuse me?
Not a ton. Yeah,
oh,
what?
Never mind. Boys, never mind. Excuse me?
Many different comps already. Sigma ball here for the
Wobble
Outlaws.
wobble, motherfucker.
Mitch catching it.
Yeah,
Excuse me?
Never mind. Boys, never mind. Accretion there.
It'll be a Zen.
You can just tell Matt's like, I can't do this.
For the Outlaws too. So,
Wobble wobble, motherfucker.
It's early in the season.
Good old Slobron. Yo, Lady Reed, thank you for the 4 months as well. Thank you very much for all the subs, guys. I appreciate it.
Maybe trying to throw jokes like that
Okay,
early.
sorry.
But it's interesting. Like we saw like everything today. Like the only thing we didn't see was like Roadhog, right?
Really, you're able to get
We even saw Bastion.
and just kind of blow targets up with the McCree in the ball.
Fairly early pick off there as well, losing Fearless really.
A little too loud.
Down some sales.
We've had so many good
Step
lines
on
there.
me.
Yeah, the May Statue line was also very good. But yeah, like the Tracer Sigma's interesting, and it was kind of like it's interesting that teams are willing to like play all these different comps, right? And no one was just sort of sticking to one thing. There wasn't this one meta that everyone played or one team just played throughout the entirety of the duration. Depending on the map, everyone changed, which is really cool to see. So Jangu Piggy making another look on the Wrecking Ball and the Sigma. It like I don't know if it's just me, but it feels like Dallas is always just chasing Houston for a fight. Dante with a crazy pulse bomb as well on the Moira, just so clutch. It's just so good. So good. Zana, thank you for the 50 months. I'm an old lady. Get off my lawn. Holy shit, Dante. Yeah, turns out Dante's pretty good at the game. And I think when we were watching it at this exact moment, Johnny made a really good point of like, people are just so good these days. Just watch Dante and be like, wow, people have gotten really fucking good at this game. Like, he makes it look so effortless, the shit that he does.
Prevent Dallas from just kind of rushing on in. Doha with the EMP. Let's see how he decides to use this. That's the Deadeye that comes out. No other ultimates used.
Fielder did get caught a bunch of times, and I don't think Fielder, the backline of Dallas Fuel, had a great series. They were okay, but they definitely got picked a bunch of times. Like Jack said, the same.
I mean, at this level, you rarely.
Shout out to the Yeehaws. Yeah, it's always fun time. Why would you play Moira here? They tried to do the same thing, and I think this is just a meta misunderstanding of maybe they're forcing this, but they want to essentially run the Moira and just keep walking at them. But Outlaws know this is coming late, right? Like, Outlaws are running before anything even happens.
He can just use the mines coming in to help.
Dude, Juby getting this Mega is insane as well. Forces the Primal from Fearless.
Down as a result, Fearless is able to capitalize on that with a primal rage, but Dallas have to use everything now, and I mean everything. Heartbeat goes down after being desuited. The pulse bomb finds its mark, but Fearless also finds
Dante's just doing so much work. This is honestly just a Tracer diff kind of point.
Happy is down, but it's 99 to 10 here.
Crimzo was out for blood. Crimzo played really well. I think the standout for me was...
Drawn away from him.
Honestly, everyone was pretty standout actually for Houston Outlaws. I think by watching this match, you can begin to understand why the Houston Outlaws are doing well in scrims, like, and the scrimbucks, and why people are high on them. Like, individually, they all played incredibly well. Juby's a little bit of a question mark for me. Like, he was okay, but, like, it's so hard to see the impact that he has. But everyone else very much impressed me, so.
They have a huge bank of ultimates. You're gonna have
Crimzo's a hidden gem. Yeah, and I always thought Crimzo was good. Crimzo was very good on Dallas as well last year. Like, he honestly was. He was just kind of overshadowed by the whole Dallas Fuel being terrible.
Rally being used there. Key shield bash applied to the middle of the fight, and here's the coalescence field that says
This was really bad. Like, the rally wasn't really helping Piggy, and then the Transcendence came out late from Crimzo. But it doesn't matter if you just have Dante who kills Sparkle.
Crimzo. Dante stands on the point, and there's a good amount of armor still persisting from the rally. Happy's trying to keep a safe distance.
Yeah, and that's it. Like, it's Juby's first game. Like, you can't expect him to be... like, Juby didn't feed his brains out, which is all he needed to do, right? Like, he just needed to be staple and standard, and he was, right? He wasn't a standout, but, oh... Double by Sparkle. And that's it. Like, I think it can't be understated how important this storyline is. Sparkle actually can play Tracer. Like, he can play a passable Tracer at this level. Especially against a player like Dante, and the Houston Outlaws playing well. So if they can get a hit scan to a point where they can take out and they can play Sparkle hit scan, I think they'll be in a good spot.
It's a really close map there. And map number 1 is a lot of people, I think, expected the Outlaws, maybe to kind of come in and roll over the fuel. I believe Johnny.
I don't think anyone expected them to roll over them. This map is way more interesting because that one kind of felt like Dallas was that map in particular. Busan felt like Dallas was just handicapped. You could see it in their compositions. They're playing it like, this isn't very good. Like, you're not really gonna win using this comp. While we went on to this map, and I was actually pleasantly surprised to see what happens.
Reaper, McCree also kind of brawly. So not surprised to see some of these maps come out, some of these comps come out here on Kings Row.
Fearless was the easy pick. I don't know if Fearless was the easy pick. I think Fearless was just playing aggressive, and that's how he has to play. Like, you can't... When your team's getting beaten to a pulp, of course the main tank's going to look bad because he's the person who should be going first. If you are the main tank and you're not dying first and your team's getting beaten to a pulp, you're probably doing something wrong. Like, Fearless is playing aggressive as he was, and as, Tanky said, like, he sometimes got so many kills with his primals. His primals were very good.
I mean, Hanzo can get headshots without even trying to aim at people, right? I mean, I'm just saying, there's a threat. Happy can be pressured at long range if Doha stays on the Hanzo, and he will. So, yeah, technically not hit scan, but still a decent threat at long.
Brawl one trick and then decided to... Yeah, and that's it. I think that was it. Like, I was expecting Houston to be really good in the Brawl, but they actually impressed me with so many different looks that they gave, and that's an important thing for them as well, right? If Houston won this series just playing Brawl, I wouldn't be as high on them as I am right now. Like, I actually think they gave so many good looks. They looked good on a lot of things. Django and Piggy looked good on a lot of things. It doesn't feel like they're like, oh, just riding off of the high that, like, hey, we're good at Brawl.
Outlaws, very compact composition. Their team setup is designed to brawl and benefit from the high healing throughput of Batiste. Sparkle, though, waiting at the door to give them a bit of a...
This was... I don't really know what the Houston Outlaws were doing here. Like, if you're gonna go through this door, you need to bust out of this shit. You can't just stand here against a Doomfist Hanzo and then, like, slowly peek out and then, like, look around and that kind of shit, right? Like, someone's gonna die eventually. Someone's gonna get booped eventually. The Ryan gets booped. Dante dies. That could have easily been a punch from Sparkle onto anybody.
5 players now for the Outlaws to work with, and they are all spread like 4 wins here. Sparkle playing...
By the way, it used to be in top 6 NA simply based off the coaching structure and Dante happy duo. I think top 6 NA is like, you can't be, like, I think you can make that point, but I think that would still be a good season for Houston. Like, I'm not high enough on them to be like, yo, they're gonna be top for 100%, right? They still need to be better than Atlanta and the Mayhem, which we'll see tomorrow how good Atlanta and Mayhem are. Obviously, we need more of a sample size of everyone playing other people, but it's like, how good is the Gladiators? Like, they obviously fell today. Sorry, spoilers if you're watching this, but like, I don't think we really got to see how good Gladiators looked. A little disconnected at times, and it's hard to know if that is the pressure being exuded from Shock that forced errors, or if that is just the way that Gladiators are playing, just a little sloppy, and Gladiators relying on their mechanics to overcome the fact that they were a little out of position at times. APAC region, yeah, I actually kind of want to watch some games, but I don't know if I'm going to be awake at that time. Like, I need to wake up at 8 a.m. again. Yeah, and this is another point to make about this whole series. Sombra happened a lot more than I was expecting in both of the series. Because we didn't see it as much in the other matchup, but in this one, Dante played a lot of Tracer. And I'm curious to know if that's a pocket pick or if they actually just think Sombra's really good. But every time they went to this, like, hardcore dive engage, Dante just plays Sombra and just hacks one person on the dive. And it's so hard to deal with. Dante Sombra is insane. It's like, honestly, it's kind of like the anti-Lip, right? The way he plays Sombra. I think Dante charges EMPs not that quickly. He plays very for individual hacks, but when he does EMP, he hits a lot of people, and he gets a lot of value out of it. Lip doesn't play as much for the individual hacks, charges the EMPs very fast, but then literally hits nobody with his EMPs. So that is why I do really like Dante's EMPs, but I think it's a lot easier to fix the way that Lip plays than the way Dante plays, right? Dante plays very, like, individualistic in terms of, like, isolating targets.
So still the Dragons able to do some work, but is it going to be enough at this stage? Because there's a pretty solid shatter from Junggu who...
Yo, that gravity. Wait, that was a gravity? I didn't even catch it.
Okay, Dragon thrown out here. This is just to create a little bit of...
Oh, yeah, that was a good eat, actually. He saw him going for the wall. Hey, bro.
So still the Dragons able to do some
Food time. I think Seth's about to feed you.
Because there's a pretty solid shatter from...
That was good gravity by Piggy. Num 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 num. Just not enough though, yeah. Piggy's pissed. Eats the grab, still doesn't win. It's kind of interesting to see how Dallas is so successful in this map, playing this double bubble dive. I actually think putting Doha on the Hanzo is pretty smart, right? Like, seeing him play the Hanzo is sort of... It's kind of like a pseudo hit scan. He actually gets a lot of value out of it. It kind of... Here's my problem with the Sombra pick as well. It doesn't feel like they have anything to slow down the tempo of the Dallas Fuel, and I think that fight is a prime example of that, right? Is that Dallas Fuel just... They're going early. They're just going hard and fast with their Winston. They either nano the Winston, primal the Winston, doom ult, any of those things, and they just go hard in the paint. And Houston Outlaws, like, the Sombra doesn't give you enough value unless you get a high value, like, individual hack, which is hard to get. I think it's very... They just get run over at certain times, so... Wow, hi. Oh my god. Now I gotta listen to Matt twice in my chat and in the VOD. Oh my god. Phyllis is a Kawa from Haikyuu. I see that. That was a good bubble catch. Oh, good save by the team as well. EMP was good, but his team wasn't ready for it. I actually think the EMP was really good, just no one could follow it up. And then the Dragon by Doha is really good at splitting the team. Double me, yeah. It's one of those ones of, like, as a Sombra, you can get a good EMP, but it's like, should you use the EMP? Like, no one else could really follow. I don't know if... Yeah, I don't know if I like this grab as well by Hanbit. It kind of felt forced into, like, hey, if we keep them in spawn, we'll be fine. But it forced their entire team to push forward into a place that they didn't really want to go. And then Happy obviously gets the high noon and just kills two. So it kind of felt like a little bit too aggressive. Thank you. Yo, Paul, full time.
Really good push so far on the offense. Dante Sombra, it's been effective against
Hanbin Zaya was a bit lacking. I can see that. Oh. That is... A Sag right there by Fearless. Just, I'm up, I'm down.
It's like Super Mario.
Why didn't Dallas ever combine grab dragons? That's two big ultimates for a team fight win, and it's generally very hard to get really good grab dragons. At the highest level, it's very hard to get them, so it's kind of hard to coordinate. I also think that they probably just never lined up in the like right situation, right? Sometimes it's just like it just doesn't line up, and you feel bad, and they didn't want to hold it off. That's a good beat by Jexay. Wow, that was really well played by Django, right? So the monkey gets behind, solo shatters him, waits a little bit, pins him just as he's about to get up, pins him into a corner so that nobody can help him, and then kills him before he primals. Like, that's a pretty good heads-up play by Django. Like, because in any other situation, like, Fearless probably just primals. If you don't do that exact situation, he just primals. Fearless said, yeah, he got EMP. Like, he was hacked during that time, right? I think they did a couple of grab dragons, right? Like, they didn't, it wasn't just completely nothing. But, like, that was a situation, right, where Doha uses his dragon because Hanbin was at, like, 50%. And then, like, sometimes at some point, like, Hanbin might get the grab, and it's like, I just want to drop it. I don't know if I like this primal. This primal is like, I'm a fucking terrified of the Sombra primal. He's, like, so scared about getting hacked. But I don't know why he primaled before he dropped his bubble. Like, why doesn't he just drop his bubble and then primal? Oh, he bubbles and then primals. I don't know if I agree with that, but let's be honest. Fearless is a million times better of a Winston, so I'm just going to take his word for it that that was the right play. Yeah, Django over... Oh, Django lives. Jexay, bloodthirsty support. And there, as you see, right? Like, Hanbin sees a good time to drop the grab, just drops the grab. Honestly, I actually don't hate the Nano Primal by Fearless. Like, all he has to do is create So Chaos and live, right? And if he gets hacked, he has that chance of, like, exactly what happened last fight to happen again, where he gets hacked, he gets stunned, he gets blown up, and then he dies before he can use his Primal. So, like, I think as much as it feels really bad to use a Primal during a Nano, I think just not getting hacked is worth it. You said the exact same thing we did during Nexus Cup. I still don't. Well, it still stands true. 1 second. Just can't understand Fearless, yeah. His mind is an enigma.
Wobble wobble, motherfucker.
Don't think he intended. I think he realized he couldn't catch the supports, but then he wouldn't bubble and primal. I don't know, maybe he wanted to insta primal and dive the tanks, so he didn't have to wait up for the jump. But he could have zapped the supports a little bit longer, force him back into the force him back into the spawn. Yo, Rider of Rohan, thank you very much for the Prime Gaming sub. That's such a feels bad. That's such a feels bad. I think Fuel did very well without a hit scan. I think there are a lot of situations in these maps where they would have just loved to have a hit scan. Like, I don't think May Doomfist is that good of a comp. I think, honestly, King's Roar is one of the few maps that I think May Doomfist actually, I think, works. But I don't think it works in, like, any map where you can just scoot around them, I think is fine. Do you think they would have won if I had his? It's impossible to say. Like, I think they had a lot of success playing the comps that they did. Yo, look at that. Sparkle looking at his teammates' monitor. Just land things. Looking at his teammates' monitor so he doesn't have to peek. Big brain.
Sparkle says, I'm going to cover my eyes, and Hardbeat, you're going to count to 10, and then I'm just going to go for this Doomfist roll.
Doa wars were quite bad. They weren't, yeah, they weren't great. Like, when you compare them to players like Nero, like, Nero's walls were so fucking good today. Like, it can't be understated how good his walls were. Like, I think Doa definitely had a lot to be desired with his melee. But, like, he had some good ones. Like, that was a good wall. Oh, and that's sort of why I say, like, Dallas Field, I think their supports really hurt them. Like, they got picked first, like, a lot. How aggressive Fearless plays, it shouldn't really ever happen. Outlaws carded fuel here to bait out Sparkle. Yeah, and they know what they're doing, right? They know that, and that's sort of the point that I'm making, right? With this with the Doomfist May, they have such a linear win condition, right? At some point, they want to take a head-on fight. If you're playing Hanzo May, all you have to do is don't take the head-on fight, right? Like Houston Outlaws, all they're trying to do is not let Django get isolated. If they can keep Django alive in the front line and then have everyone else play around him, they win the fight, right? But and Sparkle just needs to find the windows and the openings. Yo, go on Rome, thank you for the 500 bits. How do you feel about them switching all three supports around? I don't mind it. I think if they're not going to play Lucio, I like having Repel Fielder. I think it's next map that we see Fielder come in and have to play a little bit of Lucio, but if they weren't planning on playing Lucio, I think it's fine.
Watch out. I mean, look how close Dante is to the Blizzard, though, compared to, like, Dohan. Then you're also going to have a Dragon here to even separate players. Like, you could use the Dragon to separate and then try and...
So you see, like, Outlaws are playing so slow, and this is actually a big advantage for Dallas. That on defense compared to their attack, where they can choose the tempo, right? At some point, Houston has to go forward. Django has to go forward. So as soon as Django goes forward, he's going to get walled. The wall is bad on this one. But they both use Ambage, so they just give it up. But at some point, Django has to step forward. And at that point, Sparkle's going to go... A wall's going to go up on Django. The Doomfist is going to go on the backline, and they're going to split the Houston Outlaws too thin. So they have to use a dragon just to even engage the fight, right? And it doesn't get any value. They just disengage. That wall was also bad, actually. You're right. These Doa walls have a lot to be desired. And Doa gets somewhat isolated. Good Diva. Is this GOATs? Yes, Mitch. This is kind of... And you can sort of see the two styles of how they're doing it, right? Dallas is waiting for the go button, and Houston's trying to bait the go button. And it works out for Houston here, but I think third point is where it sort of really becomes clear that it's very hard for Houston to set the tempo. If anything, I would have liked to have seen Dante switch off of the May. Like, I think if you recognize this play by Dallas Fuel, I think you take Dante off the May and you just play, like, Hanzo Echo or something like that. If he went Hanzo Echo, and they were just like, we're just going to do so much damage that you can't stand here, then I think it would have been better for them. But hey, what? Don't you meow at me. Sorry. Come on. Hey, come here. Come on. Stay there, buddy. Technical difficulties. God, it's trying to load at 4K. 1 second. Let's drop the quality a little bit so it can actually load.
You're not gonna play any, like, hit scan, right? I mean...
Oh. Alright, we'll just pass here, right? Alright, this fight. And you see it, like, Houston literally engages with a dragon and then just fucking runs. Like, they wanted to use the dragon, but they're just playing so passive. And so my point is sort of, I think if they had more of a threat that forced Dallas to go without them having to overstep, I think that is probably what the win condition is at that point, right? Oh, Sparkle, that wasn't great. Oh, nice wall. That's a great wall by Dante. Because you see, like, Houston are disengaging, but they can't get their picks or the isolations. Even if Dante played, like, I don't know, Hanzo McCree.
From the Dallas Fuel, they almost have to kind of play aggressive, right? If they let Happy just poke at range with the Hanzo, it's not going to be a good rest of the round here for Dallas. So they have to play close up. Sparkle and Hanbit and Co. taking the high ground. Is this exactly where the Outlaws want to push? What would you even use up here for the Outlaws to try and get out?
I wouldn't have been against a Dante Doom mirror. I don't think you need to mirror the Doom. I think applying ranged pressure is the way, right? I really like this play by Dallas. I think they sort of put themselves against the wall, right? And this sort of enables the way that Houston Outlaws wants to play. Yeah, and then like Repel has to get too aggressive, gets headshot. Yeah, I think Dallas went a little bit too aggressive against it. It's against their win condition of how they beat Houston. They need Houston to walk forward, but by playing that way, like, Houston can just sort of surround them and not have to walk forward, and then Dallas has the onus to go, right? That is a nutty shot by Happy as well. Tank lines are carrying. Yeah, I think Fearless and Harbin were both very good in this series. I think Doha actually struggled, and I think the support line kind of struggled a little bit for Dallas. That would be where my weak points were so far in this match. I don't know if I would say clear tank diff. I think Jagu and Piggy did very well. I don't think it was a tank diff. I think maybe Dallas have an edge in this tank lineup in this match, but I think the support, I think it was a support diff. I think Crimzo was a big difference, and I think Dante and Happy being able to flex and being able to play whatever they want really pushed them over the line at the last second, right?
They do not want to walk into this Earth Shadow now. I don't know if the Fuel have been able to track this particular ultimate. Happy's down early though.
So the moral of the story is I think Dallas had the advantage in the tank, but I think Houston had the advantage in the support and the DPS. Crimzo had a nutty game. I think Crimzo's nutty, and I think he's underrated as a flex, Western flex support. I've never been too high on Doha. I actually think Doha is pretty overrated. I think he's like, I think he's like a budget Sparkle, if I'm gonna be honest. I think his Sombra is a unique element that Sparkle doesn't really have, but like, I would rather have Sparkle play the flex DPS almost always. Sparkle's May is kind of questionable as well, but I also don't think Doha's is anything special either. And I think that's his issue. Like, you can't have your main redeeming quality be a Sombra, right? It's just so niche. Oh, this is so sad. Jangu's frozen and then gets his whole team shattered, and then he gets booped off the edge. Like, if this isn't the most main tank thing to ever, like, happen, right? Like, look at Jangu. Gets frozen, gets shattered just as the freeze is about to end, gets booped off the edge. Come on. Come on, guys. Just let him play the game. He's just trying to play the game. You should be legit excited. I think you should temper your expectations. Like, Houston's not going to win the league. Houston's probably not going to win a stage. I don't think they're going to be able to beat the Gladiators, Washington, or Shock. But I think Houston can easily compete with everyone else, is where I would say. I don't see Houston beating those other teams. But I think everyone else, I think they definitely have a chance. And until they prove otherwise that they can beat those teams, I think that's realistic. My question is Houston better than, like, Atlanta? Oh, that's such a sad diva bomb. Wait, what? It works? Piggy throws it into the thing. Doha's so confused. Doha is so confused of what just happened when he dies. So same, right? Yeah, I think I'm really curious to see how Houston is going to do against an Atlanta or a Florida, right? I think that is the litmus test for them. If they can beat those teams, I think they're in a good spot. Juby needed to be the one to touch there. That was kind of bad. But I don't think it really matters. And that's sort of, this point is sort of a highlight of what I was saying of, in a super linear way of playing, Doomfist May is pretty good because at some point Houston has to walk into them, right? But in other maps where you don't have to just walk at them, like you can take other angles, you can take high grounds, you can take positioning, I don't think this Doomfist May is anywhere near as good. And that's why Dallas looks so oppressive playing this meta on this point, and why you saw sort of Houston scramble a little bit.
If you're going to keep playing that Doomfist, as the maps go by, that's what you're going to need to see for the Dallas Fuel to keep getting these wins. It feels like...
Let's watch this. Just because I saw it.
By TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
Do you feel like something is missing? You used to be top tier, but lately you've been lacking that legendary feeling. Are your skins and sprays default? Overwatch League perks by T-Mobile may be right for you. By connecting your YouTube account with your Battle.net account, you can start earning great Overwatch League perks like League tokens to spend on legendary skins, as well as sprays. And
That's Hex,
Overwatch.
yeah, this is Hex. Hex, for anyone who's not aware, Hex has moved into a producer role, and he's the one who's working very directly, like, all of our skits, these pros produce things, Hex does those kind of things. Him and Fish, I think Fish did a lot of these. Fish is great. He's the guy, you would have seen him, he's been around, if you're paying enough attention. They make a lot of these things.
Overwatch League perks by
It's just so funny that they just found some... I don't know how they came up with, let's just get stock video. Because for anyone who's not aware, this is just stock video that you can buy, right? Like, you can just buy stock video, this kind of shit. And then they just put a thing over it, right? Like, it's the world's dumbest things. And that's what makes it fucking great, right? But yeah, like, I don't know who came up with these dumb ideas. So let's get stock footage and then do Team Our Baskets. Yeah, Fish was the guy who 1v1 Super last season. He was the guy in the map video where he's like, stop, get help. He's the guy who has the Houston shirt and like has the moment. I thought no, this isn't custom stock video, right? Like, this is literally stock video that like these generic stock video that they made for just anyone. Like, people make stock videos so that they can sell it, and then people buy it, and then they buy the stock video, right? That's sort of what's happening here. And then they're just putting Overwatch League shit in it, and it's edited so well that it kind of looks like it's legit. Like, yeah, and I think that it does go over a lot of people's heads. They're like, oh, this is cringe. They just hired some guy to like... No, this guy doesn't know what the fuck Overwatch is, which is even funny. He's just a dude eating yogurt for some stock footage. And then we've just like, hey man, I'm sorry, you signed up for this shit to be sold. This is what you got now. And then like, it's the same as the turkey leg video. They didn't, think about that. They didn't produce some enormous guy to eat a big turkey leg. That's stock footage. That's just shit they found.
Probably going to be under a lot of pressure from Spark. No doubt about it. Spark would definitely need
like that.
because if he goes uncontested,
When Brett ends his sentence with King.
still, I mean, the double shield makes it a little bit
How great would it be if they did? Yeah. Hey, as you can tell, we're doing some fun stuff, but I don't think that's outside of the realm of the budget.
driving a wedge between.
So here let's go into this map, because this map's fucking weird. Okay, so we just need to look at the comps to start off. Dallas plays Hanzo Genji, which if you told me they're gonna play Hanzo Genji double shield, I'd be like, dude, fucking Dallas, we talked about this. Don't throw. And then it works? Question mark? So it's kind of confusing. They like, we'll see how it goes. But obviously they're getting a lot of positioning here. They just want to fight this corner. Like, this corner is obviously the most defensible position on the first point.
Go in here, maybe find a Zenyatta kill early. Kinetic grasp there. Okay, big deflection. Look at
He really wanted to go for that. He really wanted to go for the dash.
Yes, Dante was on a little bit of a flank, just trying to find one player he could isolate, but Dallas literally splits their team in half. You know, you have the Sigma, Brig, and Genji on one side of the choke, and then the rest of the team on the other. And I think Houston, when they got to the corner...
Yeah, it's interesting that double shield does seem to be the meta on this map. I think it's just because of the long sightlines and snipers and stuff like that, right? But Dallas have the strategy's so good. It feels like nobody can do anything.
Headshot there from Happy, and Dante now wants to try and compound the issue. Good quick healing.
Look at Dante, he's just so annoying.
The immortality field had to be used. There's an amplification matrix in play, but
Sparkle's just climbing walls above him.
Doha, again, the fulcrum for the Outlaws has been removed, and Picky not far behind. Doha is ruining people on Hanzo.
Pretty sure double shield is not the meta here. It's rush, but Dallas forced the adaptation. What does Houston come out on? Like, what do they come out on? I think that's a good question. Because did they come out brawl and then we're like, hey, what the fuck? Let's go double shield. Because I would not be so... Yeah, I think you're wrong, Josh. I actually think I think double shield is the meta. I don't think you can rush into this. Yeah, but I think that's probably become the meta in scrims, and inherently that's why double shield is the meta on this map. Because I agree, you can't rush into this. If they tried to play rush, Dallas would have just stood on the high ground right here, and they would have done that. But then I think Dallas, smart enough, they obviously have the strategies down here, and you see this happen. They're on the high ground, they realize, oh shit, they're playing double shield as well. Positions assemble, and they like do a 3-3 split on the left and the right of the choke.
Driving a wedge between Dallas, if I'm honest with you here. You can see that off-angle Sigma.
Contenders was rush meta. I think if we learn anything about today, I think that a lot of what you saw in Contenders isn't as applicable, because a lot of what happens in Contenders is they play one comp and they just apply it broadly across maps. We saw so many map-specific strategies today from different teams. Like, people aren't playing Genji in Contenders. But I guess nobody else is playing Genji, so it's just Sparkle things. When in doubt, rush it out. Yeah, and I was actually surprised, and I'm curious to know if the meta is going to stabilize over time, and that something is going to come out as, hey, we can just play this everywhere and it will be the best comp, or if we're going to stick into the situation right now where it's like, anywhere with high ground, we're playing double shield with Winston, right? Double bubble. Anything super long sightlines, we're playing double shield, right? Like we're seeing right now. Anything with tight corridors and, you know, brawl accessible, then we'll see that. Because that was what we saw in the first day. It was a lot of diversity in the meta, which is exciting to see and fun to watch, right? So we're not just watching the same shit, different day.
There's an amplification matrix in play, but despite that, Jungkook falls.
We call that balance, baby, yeah.
The fulcrum for the Outlaws has been removed, and Picky not far behind. Doha is ruining people on Hanzo.
I want to see what's happening in the East. I'm looking forward to Apex matches tonight. Like, what the fuck are they doing?
Just firing arrows down as Sparkle on cleanup duty towards the end of the fight. He'll have a blade coming in here, but Dante still alive, trying to spawn camp Propel here, but I don't think
I think it's smart by Dante to give up that fight. I think he recognized that if someone comes, I also don't think you win versus a good Baptiste. Tracer 1v1 versus a Baptiste where he can use his entire kit and he is able to just fully focus on you, I don't think you win.
I've seen plenty of Tracer players take that duel and try and eliminate one of those supports if they can, but he has a pulse.
Yeah, what's up, Kevin?
To have a chance to use that in the next fight. Maybe Hanbin is the option. Fielder goes for the rally.
You're casting tonight, right? Avril? You and is it you and Doa tonight? Yeah, mate. Oh yeah. First Avril cast for now. Pog champs. I'm hyped, dude. I'm hyped. I'm looking forward to you. Seeing you on our dropping the knowledge, dropping that Contenders knowledge, dropping the APAC knowledge. Hype.
Goes to McCrate. This will obviously be to help protect the team against Sparkle's Genji.
Picking down wants to pro. That's all about the damage.
And you just see the crossfire here. That's such a problem. Like, Houston doesn't know how to deal with this. And you can tell that Houston haven't really put up with this, like, kind of... They can't walk forward in the choke because they have to look two directions, right? And the Genji's actually interesting.
I guess a flashy roll here.
What would be the solution, right? If you're like, hey, we're the Houston Outlaws. And you're like, oh, we need to solve this problem. What do you do? I honestly think I switched to Brawl. I honestly think you go Brawl and just fucking go for it. They don't have a Lucio. I honestly don't think they need to mirror the double shield. Like, I don't know if you can try and force this double shield mirror matchup because I think you're always at a disadvantage. You have to force the right side fight and go through the right room. Yeah, I can see that. I think the issue is once you get ult disadvantage, like if they had the Transcendence, I think that's the play. But as soon as you have ult disadvantage, they have any ultimate. They have a Blade, they have a Dragon, they have a Bongo, they have a Sigma ult, they have a Window. You can't do that strategy anymore. Maybe you go Brawl and you go through that room. Like, and then at that point, you're going to win eventually, right? Maybe. But then Dallas Fuel maybe just take high ground and counter it. I'm not 100% sure. It's a very, like, unique strategy. I think the Genji throws a wrench into every plan that you have, right? Because, like, Genji actually has some good Brawl potential, especially with how fast Sparkle charges blades. Like, it's just so good. And, like, you can see how Dallas are recognizing their win conditions time and time again. They're like, oh, dude, it's just a Sigma walking down main. Yo, just fucking flux him, dude. Just, like, legitimately solo ult. I think this is a fuck-up by Hanbin here. Like, I think the isolation on Piggy here is good. Going in the room is greedy. And I think they thought they had this fight more won than they did. Crimzo gets a sick kill onto Sparkle, and then all of a sudden this flips on his head, right? Good recognition by Outlaws that, like, they can win that, but maybe a fuck-up by Dallas thinking they had that fight more won than they did. If you have good card position, you can force the left side fight, yeah. Yeah, you're right. I think if Houston can ever get positioning of the cart, then they're in a good spot. But yeah, I also, how does this kill happen? But because I remember this happening in real time.
They're moving towards that left-hand door. They'll be able
Dude, that's such a filthy right click onto Doha. This could have easily been a very hard fight. They have a rally. They might have a blade. The trance is going to go by Crimzo off the bat with the blade. And then, so you're relying on Piggy to get a good flux, right? But that pick literally just puts a full stop on this entire push. Like, Doha potentially would have got a dragon.
the immortality field to work with. That'll
They would have full held. Like, they easily could have full held. Like, but that's just, and that's sort of, like, Crimzo needs to get props. He played so well this series. Like, he really had a good game and put a lot of, like, not only just, like, he didn't die that much. He healed everyone. Like, he made big picks, big plays. He did good sleeps. He had good play on the Zen. He hit some big nays. Like, just really good flex support. And it was really cool listening to him, like, talk about him as a flex support. He seems very realistic, right? Of like, hey, when we did that interview, it was like, do you think you can be one of the best flex supports in the world? And he was like, hey, that's what I'm striving for, but like, there's some good flex supports in this league. He just wants to be the best that he can be. And he knows where he can make improvements as well. And it's good to have that confidence, but also that humbleness of like, this is what you need to be. You can't just always think you're the best player in the world because it's unrealistic. Unless you're Violet, then it's not unrealistic.
Absolutely ruined. Looks like Discord all plus hole plus happy headshot.
Here's what I have wrong with it. Maybe he didn't think he was gonna die this fast. Sparkle with the blade, but he actually just got fucking melted. I guess he got crit by thing, but it felt like he went in a little too solo there. Like, I would have, if they had just waited for the dragon and then dragon bladed, I think you trade those two ults. But then they just transcendence it. But it feels like Sparkle just went too early. He went too early, went too solo, and then just gets transcended and he dies. And like, you can you can trade a blade for a transcendence. That's fine. I don't think anyone has a problem with that in this like setup. But like, you can't trade a transcendence for a blade and die as the Genji. That was such a good flank by Happy. Happy was also very impressive. He just made so much space so many times.
It'll be the Outlaws to come forward here. That supercharger finally been removed, but a lot of value was gained from that now.
Naked Blade in pro play seems risky. You really want to use it to put a full stop on the fight. It's very hard to engage a Naked Blade at our level to engage a fight, and that's what was wrong with that blade. The engage tool was the blade, and you're just never going to get value out of that, especially when the Outlaws have Transcendence. I wouldn't be surprised if Sparkle wasn't trying to go that aggressive and he just died before he could press Reflect or something like that. Happy was flexible too, yeah. Like, being able to show the Hanzo, Tracer, and the hit scan is a big deal for what I expect from Happy. Oh, that was bad by Hanbin. This is, once again, it feels like Dallas just, like, trying to finish a fight for no reason, right? It's like, what are they, why are they going in this room? I think you just give this to them. As much as obviously it's, you don't want to give them this room, like, you can't walk in the room. Like, what are you doing here? I don't think they ever win that fight.
I don't think the Harbin was ready for that at all. The Outlaws really able to turn on a dime there.
Happy Dante, yeah, Happy Dante DPS duo, if the amount of flexibility that both of them seem to have is going to be very important. It makes me wonder when you see KSF or Hydration, like where fucking a Pharah meta, maybe? But other than that, like, I don't really see KSF or Hydration getting too much game time. Genji's just kind of weird in this comp. You have no engager, plays like a poke comp, but you have no Genji, so Sparkle just goes solo. I would have liked to have seen Sparkle switch at this point. I actually didn't mind it on the first point. When they have that set strategy, he has the sightlines to throw the shurikens, and then he has that go point, right, where they do so much damage that he can dash and engage, and then they have his blade. But you got a second and third point. I just don't think those windows exist as much. I think you're seeing it. Happy is just taking too much space, right? And as soon as, like, Happy takes too much space, Sparkle's space gets heavily limited, but he also can't solo engage onto Happy. So it's just, like, becomes this, like, awkward situation where he wants to go, but the rest of his team can't follow.
Do what they tried at the beginning of point A was to, like, rally and blade, potentially. We'll see what they decide to do. It looks like they're just kind of...
Yeah, maybe a Doom meta. Genji Pharah Doom meta? I can see that. Because Dante's Genji's not that good, if I remember correctly. His Genji and Doom are both okay. They're like, you would pass with it, but if you have Hydration or KSF on, like, surely that would be their role.
Nicely done by Sparkle to even things up, and some, as he heads into the back line. Both supports are down for Houston, and suddenly, all that momentum, it's gone.
And that's sort of where, like, you see Genji. Like, Genji is very feast or famine, right? Where it's like they rally, they engage, they get... As soon as you get one pick, the Genji just fucking comes alive, right? Like, the Genji's like, oh, my time to shine, I'm going. And now they have the Blade, and we'll see how they do it, because we're in the same situation we were in last time, where they have the Dragon and the Blade going up against a Crimson Transcendence. I would like to see them hold the... Oh, actually, this is so fucking savage. This is just so... This is like... When everyone's like, why don't you like Overwatch as much as when it released? This is why. It's cool, but it's like, come on, guys. What do we... What do you do there? He's just trying to spam, and he just gets fucking rocked from across the world. And here we, like, and this is sort of how I want the Blade to come out from Sparkle, right? He blades, and it just forces out Transcendence, and he kills the Bongo, and it sort of slows everything down, but he didn't try and go for all the kills. But he gets fucked by Happy. Oh, Dante, that's just... Stop it! That was honestly just some crazy picks by Happy. Like, that pick on the Genji by Happy was so unfortunate. The Hanzo kill was unfortunate. The stick was unfortunate. That was a full 100. Yeah, and literally, he couldn't have done anything. Doha's only counterplay to that was to just not be there. Just not get pulled. Wireless Lloyds, I'm grabbing a drink again.
Steph Curry pulls up from 30 feet away. Piggy pulls up from, the parking lot. I mean, that was way downtown. It looked like the rock just flying through the air is it's tremendous. I don't think Doha had any clue that was going to happen. He's quite far away. The accretion comes flying through the air, and you get that first pick. That's two fights, though, in a row towards the end there, right? Where Doha got picked early. The first one, they were able to use the rally and stay alive, but that one not able to keep it going there for Dallas.
I mean, you have to judge the travel time as well of accretion. I think there was a halt combo with that. So
yeah, there was a halt.
I mean,
yeah,
that is still... You really have to understand exactly how long the halt is active for and how long it takes for that accretion to travel. Also, how much you need to lead. Obviously, you need to aim higher than you're actually in.
Alright, I'm back.
There's just a lot there. It's very complex. I mean, medieval...
That Django Piggy synergy did their fucking next level. Oh, then now we get to watch it in real time. So Des was watching the game from like the stream perspective, or they had their own perspective. We watch it from, we see it live. Like yeah, we see it like in person. We're like a minute or two ahead of the YouTube stream. Cuz we have a live feed obviously for the desk, so we can see what's going on. So we just have that for the match as well. Please pet a kitty. The kitty is over there. I will give them a pet. Alright, so we see a spawn camp. This was really interesting to me. I would love to hear or talk to a Houston Outlaws or a Dallas Fuel person. For some reason, on the first half of this map, they both play double shield. But you flip it, and all of a sudden they both play Brawl. And I don't know why there is such a flip in who is doing what. Something has to give at that point, right? And I don't know what it is, but they both play Brawler now, and I'm kind of confused. But we're gonna see the same thing from Dallas Fuel that we saw on Kings Row. It sort of goes back to my original point of I don't think May and Doom gets as much value on a map like Rialto in Havana in comparison to Kings Row, where it's very linear. There's no high grounds. There's not a lot of flanks, all that kind of stuff, right? It's because they're spawn camping? Yeah, but they end up playing it the whole time. So they're spawn camping. So by Houston spawn camping, it forces Dallas to play the Brawl, but that sets the entire precedent for the rest of the map, right? At that point, nobody can switch back to double shield. And I wonder if that's the same thing on the first point defense of, like, once you commit to something on the first point, because ultimates are so important, it's very hard to make that massive switch to a different composition. But Dallas flipped the script in the first half. Yeah, so because they played double shield, Outlaws like it's really hard to brawl it, so we're going to do it. But on the flip side, because Outlaws played the brawl on the defense, Dallas is willing to adapt, which is weird because we don't usually see that a lot in metas in Overwatch because generally there's a pretty set meta, or there isn't this like unique thing of, hey shit, they're gonna play this on attack, we need to play this in defense.
That's a real COVID move if I've ever heard one.
That was a dangerous throw by Dante.
Yep, okay, tries to get the freeze on Fearless, is able to connect it, but there's a sound barrier in play for
Brawl also scales, yeah, and I think that's what makes Brawl so oppressive, is it scales throughout the entirety of the map. When you have ultimate advantage, it becomes very hard to switch around away from Brawl and stuff like that. Whoo! Happy just clicking heads right now. It can't be understated how important Happy being so good is for this Outlaws team. I think a lot of people expected good things from Happy on the Outlaws. I don't think anyone was expecting this good. I'm surprised by how good he is playing.
You know, that blizzard could have been huge if they didn't lose field.
Happy makes me happy, yeah. But I don't like this Doomfist as much. Like, this is a map, like, as I said, I was just talking about Happy. Look at him on the high ground. I don't think the Doomfist gets anywhere near as much value. It's going to cost a lot of ultimates for Dallas to, like, get these fights, right? And you're going to see that. That was a real... This is kind of on Piggy. Piggy sort of got himself isolated here. He's sort of... I don't know if he's trying to off-angle or he's flying away from the bomb, but what this does is this gets him isolated. He does help... Oh, he gets pinned by Fearless. Is kind of unfortunate. I didn't realize that's how he ended up so far away. Alright, never mind. Fearless is a god. That was just unfortunate. Yeah, it cost Dallas a lot of ultimates to cap this first point. It literally cost them 5, 4. But yeah, it just... I think it's very hard for them to engage in this situation while also keeping Happy in check. Yeah, because no McCree. Like, as I said, I don't like this McCree, the Doomfist in this situation, but I honestly don't think they have a better solution. The only thing that I could see that maybe is a solution is if Sparkle plays the Hanzo, but I actually don't know what Sparkle's Hanzo's like. I don't know if we've seen that from him. We saw Doha Hanzo on King's Row, but yeah, like maybe Hanzo could fill that niche, but I don't mind them playing to their strengths. I just think that it's a very glaring weakness on this map. Happy Dante is underrated as fuck as a DPS duo, and I'm hoping people start giving Custa a lot more credit after seeing how they played against Dallas, because this wasn't just like a... I don't even think this was like, oh my god, all the Houston players were individually popping off. I think it was actually very good team synergy, and everyone playing well together. The way they were playing the game was very smart, and it was like, worked well together. It wasn't just individual pop-off moments that ended up getting them the win over Dallas. This is hard for Dallas to push, especially with how many ults they use, but the isolation on Dante. I don't know how Dante dies here. How does Dante get picked? Oh, okay, he's... I found out how Dante died. He is over here. That is a problem. I think he must have got upcut in when Sparkle did that earlier. What do you think about the field of Lucio? My guess is when they put Filter in, they were expecting to play a lot of double shield. I don't think they wanted to end up in this Brawl mirror, but this is just where it is. I'm sure it's acceptable for Dallas, but not ideal. Like, I didn't notice Filter feeding. I don't know. I didn't really notice the Filter. I saw it, but... I don't think it's a hard match to evaluate Houston, though. Against a team with a hit scan, they're playing off meta comfort picks. And I think that is important as well. As like, this isn't like, oh, Houston is all of a sudden top 4 in NA. Like, they still have to prove that they're better than Florida and Atlanta. Like, you know who else has a stacked DPS lineup? Fucking Atlanta and Florida. So it's like, it's not like they can just get by on that, especially against a team that had, as you said, no hit scan player. So that's going to be the real test when we see Houston start going up against those teams. I'm excited to see Dallas plays against Gladiators tomorrow, which I think is going to be an interesting test as well for the Gladiators, because, as I said, I think the Gladiators looked a little lost at times, but that could just be the oppressiveness of the San Francisco Shock. So we'll see what they can do against a weakened Dallas field. So it's such a good hack by Dante. Like, the hack onto Fearless, like, just closed so many options, right? And just created so much chaos, and then he just EMPs, and it's just fucking... just so good. And I wasn't expecting to see this much Sombra in today's matches. It feels like the Sombra was... I'm curious to know if they would play this much Sombra against a team that played a hit scan, right? Like, if let's say Sparkle wasn't here and they had Exy playing the McCree, I don't think we see the Dante Sombra. I honestly think it's a direct counterpick to the way that they're playing with the May Doom. So, maybe I'm wrong about this, and maybe we'll go to APAC and they'll play some Brawl with Sombra, because we all know, like, Korea loves to play their Sombra, but... No, Kree leaves Sombra very free, and yeah, that's what I'm wondering, if this is more just of Dante feeling it and being like, I think Sombra would be really good, or if this is actually like something that they like to switch to. If it's like, hey, I don't think I need to play May, I'm gonna play Sombra for whatever reason against like double bubble dive of the Brawl.
Piggy will be looking to try and have that one for breakfast. Let's see if the Dallas Fuel have enough in their lungs to blow this house down.
Sorry, I want to see how they got here again. Like, how did... And I think this is great. I don't know if this is coaching or the players recognizing this, but this has been the theme of the entire series of Houston just running from Dallas. Knowing that they're against the Doomfist, they're not trying to take it like... Most people would go up for that heads up, hold the door, this is great, right? Fucking Hodor style. But because they're playing the Doomfist, they know that they can't win a straight up head-to-head fight. So they're actually making adaptations and just not fighting them ever. I think Crimzo would want that window back. Did we just get a like Three Little Pigs reference by Mitch? Dude, Mitch's fucking word association is next level. Comes up with absolutely nothing, and now he has to do it the old-fashioned. Yeah, this was actually really well played by Dallas as well. Like, just good temperament, right? Of like, they wait out the window, all is good, and then they know they have the... Oh, sorry, we didn't want to go that far back. And then they have the ultimates, right? And they know that Outlaws don't have a lot, so all they need to do is close the distance. No one really overcommits in this dive, right? No one's trying to win. All they were trying to do is get control of the cart, because they know as soon as they get control of the cart, Piggy's gonna have to go. And by doing that, that creates a lot of resources going to Piggy. Piggy can't protect Django. Django then gets fucked by Sparkle. They just dropped a mail. Like, they literally just put a mail here, just like, you're fucked. Like, you can't come to the cart to fight us. So it's good recognition by Dallas Fuel in the win condition.
Won't quite get that far though, as the Fuel are able to clean the Outlaws up and continue to play the map.
Not the worst thing though.
That felt like a large brain Jake call, and yeah, I'm curious to know, because that does seem like something Jake would like think up, right? So
for the Fuel to complete the map, not a lot of time here.
If Happy was in position sooner, yeah, absolutely. The Happy flank was good, just too late. Like, I don't think he was that... When they were doing the window, he needed to go as soon as they dropped the window and they realized Dallas was going to hide.
Walls up there. Piggy has to use that defense matrix as well as he possibly can.
Why does Fielder beat here? Oh, they get shattered. I didn't even notice they got shattered. You don't really see it in the grand scheme of things, but yeah, Django actually hit a 4-man shatter there, and that's what forces out that beat.
So big Lucio ultimates exchanged in this fight, but the Outlaws don't really want to fracas right now.
Fracas. I love it. Sorry, I'm pausing so much, but I love how much emphasis Mitch puts on this word, because he knows nobody knows what the word means.
But the Outlaws don't really want to fracas right now.
What does fracas mean? That's what it doesn't even sound like a word. It sounds like you put two words together. This is also a fat EMP, yeah. It's enormous. That just sort of like puts a pin in that. Fracas is a fray. It's a fight. Interesting, interesting. A tussle. Okay, alright. I thought it was a made-up word as well, Grinjo. But I know Mitch well enough to know that he doesn't make up words. He just reads dictionaries for breakfast. Yeah, this is kind of a something that I think Houston, like, this is Houston breaking that thing, right? Of like, hey, they don't want to brawl, and this is Django. I don't know why Django is holding so aggressive. I think they would have been way better off playing further back at this corner, but Django is just so far forward trying to hold up the card, and this is just like the world's freest wall for Doha. Gets walled, no way a lamp goes down, no way he gets any protection. and he just gets wrecked. And this has so many implications. The best thing that happens here is Juby's stall is really good, and then partnered with Piggy. Dante's getting up EMP charge. So the fight is actually not the worst thing in the world. Salavian, thank you for the 20 months. 20 months on the day Overwatch started back. Hell yeah. Mitch had thrown a made up word here or there to keep the audience honest on their feet. Honestly, Mitch could make up a word and most people wouldn't catch him. This is a bad mail by Doha. I think it doesn't matter because Django gets murdered. But if he throws this mail more towards the spawn, it'd be fine. This mail, like, the idea is right with the wall, but he puts it too far to the left. Like, he's so scared of the D.Va that he puts it in a place that, like, even Django makes it out. Like, they don't kill Django if he doesn't get punched by Sparkle. And this ends up costing them a lot, right? Because as much as that doesn't seem like a big deal, it's like, hey, they got Django anyway. Most people got out of that. And then the D.Va bomb comes out. Dante's thing, the fight isn't that clean. They didn't wipe enough. There's going to be enough of a re-engage. And then Sparkle overstays his welcome and dies to Crimzo. And then this is just Frowning Town. Dante puts the exclamation point, charges that EMP so fast, puts down the EMP, and then 5-man EMP. Dallas weren't ready for it. They're just going to slowly bleed out of this fight. Fielder hacked at 97. Legitimately, such a feels bad as a Lucio. That really felt like a map that Dallas could have won if they had just done a couple of things right. They could have easily full held, as Avril said. Like, a couple of things didn't go their way, and that's what ended up costing them, right? But also some mistakes. You can't overlook the fact that they were mistakes, and Houston punished them well, so. Yeah, that mail, it's the small things. And yeah, I think that a lot of the small things went by the wayside for Dallas Fuel in that map. Builder getting his ult would have been what game winning? Absolutely. Like if Sparkle doesn't die there, they win. Because by Sparkle dying, the whole team kind of collapsed to help Sparkle, and then they all got EMP'd. I think if Sparkle is fine there and he's living, what happens is you get the team sort of spreading out and just waiting for the re-engage from Houston. But because Sparkle goes too deep, the entire team is not really in the positions that they want to be. Hello, YouTube. Please respond. Why is Fielder even playing Lucio? I don't think they were planning on playing Brawl when they got into it. Alright, there we go. Thoughts on Fearless? Fearless is very, 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 very fucking good. Anyone who says, like, Fearless fed this game isn't paying enough attention. Fearless was very good on a lot of different heroes. His Winston obviously was the standout, though. I wonder if they could... I don't even think they needed to save the Blizzard. I think using the Blizzard early there is a good idea, right? Because I think you never want to take that 6v6 fight with Houston coming back, because that gives them the chance to, like, take an even fight. Using the Mail early to isolate a few people is good, but the problem is the Mail didn't isolate enough people. It only really got one. /2. So, and that was, I think, the major issue. Like, if he could have not used it, great, but I don't... If he'd thrown it at spawn, I don't know if the D.Va was there, but if he had thrown it at spawn, it would have been a very different fight, I think. We're seeing the same comp by Dallas. Great nade by Crimzo. I really don't like this Moira pick. I did not see this. What?
We'll have to keep track of how effectively he's able to remove these targets, because there's a lot of mobility on the side of the field. But Doha, somebody get him a life jacket.
What happened? I really don't like this Moira comp though by Dallas. I don't think it's very good. They catch Houston here, which is great for them, but I think that's a mistake by Houston. That's actually such a crazy kill by Dante and Django. That's such a feels bad. They lose their whole support line. That's such a feels bad for Dallas. Doha gets a solo kill on Crimzo though. It's the comp MYXL running the open scrim as well. I just don't like it against the monkey brig Ana. Like, obviously it gives you more speed, Especially with the Sombra, it gives you that like that extra tempo of brawl with the dive, but I just feel like you get picked out. Like you have to get on top of the opposition team. If you don't get on top of them, you just lose. You get coalescence so fast. The fact that Fielder has coalescence from that first fight is kind of ridiculous. He died and came back. It's a full send comp. Yeah, there's literally like hold W for the W. And if you die, then it's like, well, shit, we tried. We held W. As soon as you press S, you've lost you've lost this with this comp. You're never going to win, especially against the Brig Anna. The Brig Anna is just so self-sustainable. Dallas did do a good job of never full wiping and just resetting, not giving Houston Outlaws too many ultimates.
Now we're at 2 minutes on the clock for Dallas to make some progress here on point A. In a longer fight, they'd be able to get a ton of value out of Sparkle. That's going to be the key for the Dallas Fuel here, to really punish Jungu and Piggy for getting too close. And that's why they want to use this speed boost and the dive. This is extreme.
They just need to get to the EMP. Like, Doa's EMP is way too slow for this composition, right? If you're playing a Sombra in this brawl comp, Doa needs to have his EMP in about a minute and a half. You can't take 2 minutes and 15 seconds to get an EMP. The EMP is really like the nail in the coffin of their win condition. Like, obviously there's going to be brawls back and forth and it's going to be hard to like one team to win a fight. They need, like, they don't really have a counter to the EMP. And you see this, right? At this point, this is the Outlaws being like, they have EMP, we can't walk forward. And then Dallas is smart enough to be like, we just hold the point then. Like, then we just win. Like, and Fearless using the Primal here is so smart because what it does is it forces an engagement, right? They all of a sudden have to run through Fearless to get to the point. Otherwise, they're just going to lose and bleed out. And I think that's what Fearless does so well, is that at times it feels like he doesn't get value out of the things that he does, but it enables the rest of his team so well. Yo, Grimmy, thanks for the Prime sub. I heard people talk about Django's Ryan, but his Winston's good too. Honestly, Django impressed me on all roles. And I don't know I don't know if Sideshow's still here, but Sideshow said that like he thinks that Piggy and Django were mainly only good in the brawl. I don't know where exactly he got that information from, but they impressed me on all heroes. Like I don't think Django is the best Winston in the league. He's no like Smurf, but I think he's very passable. And honestly, anything's an upgrade for the Outlaws really at this point for a Winston. So Django is an enormous upgrade. Piggy kind of sus. No, I disagree with that. I think Piggy is playing in a way that enabled the rest of his team really well. Piggy made a lot of these kind of plays, right? Let's watch this, and it'll sort of highlight the idea. Piggy does this a lot, where he just makes himself a threat, and he just gets shot at. And then he does it again, right? We go again. He goes through, he pushes in deep. He knows where he's going, because he's not trying to run back to his team. He's going through them, getting attention, doing a ton of damage, and then disengaging in a different. This enables so much of the rest of the team of Happy, Dante, all that kind of stuff, because fuck it, Piggy doesn't care if he dies, as long as the rest of his team does his job. And that's just a selfless style of playing. And I think a lot of people saw, oh, Piggy gets demeched first so much. Piggy dies so much. It's like, fuck it. Like, dude's creating so much space for the team. I said they're Nova Brawl because that's what they did in Contender. The rest was unknown. But I agree, they outperformed expectations. Right. Okay. Yeah, because, like, I wasn't sure if you had, like, a long sample size of that. If that's what we've seen from them in Contenders when they paid for Talon, right? The BM? Oh, there's always going to be some BM. What a crisp teabag, dude. Jake would be proud. Jake's in the coaching booth like, yeah! Get him! This can't happen. Well, I don't know what happens. What happens here? This just can't happen. Like, what happens here but to Happy? And this is why it's like, Happy Sombra kind of... It wasn't great, I'll say, but this is one of those things that, like, it's not even like that's unfortunate. Sometimes that just can't happen. That should never happen. He didn't even get CC'd, he just died. And that just literally busts this shit wide open. Django feels like he's forced to go because they're going to point for free. They literally can just EMP Django because fuck it, why not?
Gets a primal rage. The stall here is very good, but still a tick was given up in the meantime. 3 players hit with the EMP right now.
Doesn't KSF or Hydration play Sombra? No, not really, I would say. But I also think like Happy, I think Happy being on Sombra is a counter pick to what Dallas is playing. I don't think Happy wants to play a hit scan against the way that Dallas is playing because it's so fast. He wants to play something that's going to dissuade that speed. That's why he goes to the Sombra. I don't think it's his comfort pick or something that he wants to play or the team plan to play. It's just something that is spur of the moment. Sombra's going to help. Doesn't help if you're dead, but you know what I mean. Yeah, I think if they're going to play Sombra, they would almost certainly have Dante play it. Does Happy play Tracer? Happy does play Tracer in this series next map, but it was very good. Like, it wasn't Dante level, but it was enough that you were good enough for a hit scan player playing Tracer. You know what I mean? It was good. It was good. What map is that on? What's the next map? He definitely played it today. I remember seeing it and being like, ah. Yeah, Ilias, right? Didn't know that Sparkle had a Tracer. Sparkle's Tracer was good. I think it's on the same point of what I said with Happy of it looked serviceable. Like, if Sparkle was on the Tracer, I don't think it's going to win you games individually, but I think it's good enough to have in the team. So, which makes me feel better about, I really hope Dallas will pick up a hit scan Tracer player, but just knowing Sparkle has that in his back pocket if necessary is enough. Good job on the desk. It was entertaining. Thank you very much. I think it was a really fun day, and I think that's the tone that we're going for. I think that's the tone that we have. No. Happy also played Tracer on the first point.
Wobble wobble, motherfucker.
I didn't realize it was that bad. That ain't great. Mark Malban, thank you for the 40 months. Moments before disaster. He jumped, as soon as he jumped off, you're like, he knows he fucked up. Cost him about a minute, yeah, that was expensive. Like, and that's, as we said, that's the little things, right? Like, that cost his EMP. Like I said, you can't take you 2 minutes and 15 seconds to get an EMP. That cost him a good 30, 45 seconds because that was like setup time as well. It's not just the death and the 10-second respawner.
Listen, quarantine has done a number on all of us, my guy.
Our last year, we are professional. Our this year, we are stupid. I don't think we tried to go professional last season. I think when we were outside of the studio, it was hard to do fun things, so we just sort of went more professional, more analytical, right? Where all the original players go? Custa, I just looked over our player list and only saw 3 players I recognized from 2017. Where did all those original players go? So I'll speak for all of us retired Wash players. People got really fucking good at the game because young kids have too much damn time on their hands to just fucking own. And that's honestly the reality of, we had a lot of younger kids who grew up and this was their game and they fucking popped off. And all the old retirees that have been playing the game for 4 to 5 years just like faded off into non-existence and people got really good. You want to know something that Zoe said that made me feel really old? She was like, how old's Muse? Liquipedia. Muse was born in 2002. So he's a child. No, he's 19. Well, now I feel old. That's great. Thanks, Zoe. That's really fucking great. That's just fucking great. He's still a child, and that's it. And honestly, people got older, moved on, and then we just got surpassed. And I talked about this earlier in the first map, is the level of play from 2018 to right now is just head and shoulders. It's so fucking good. People are so good at this game. And the reason a lot of old people aren't there anymore is it's hard to keep up over a long form of time. And there are players that have done it, you know, they still exist, but it's just so hard to do. Always stay at the top level for such a long time. Juby just turned 18, yeah. How old is Custa? I'm 27. As I said, it's not an age thing. It's just, I think it's hard to stay at that level for such a long time. And keep up that passion, keep up that drive to always be better, etc., etc. And I think that is where you see the fall off happen. Especially with how fast Overwatch changes as a game. Changes so much that you always need to be learning new tricks. It's not like a game like CS, right? Where the experience that you learnt 5 years ago is helping you now. It doesn't really work like that. A lot of the new things, new heroes, new style of playing the game is forever evolving that makes it really hard to keep up with the times. Yeah, dude, you guys wanna go see, like, just go watch Contenders. There are some fucking crazy ass 16-year-old crazy kid that's just going to blow our ears wide open.
We didn't actually catch it, but Django uses Primal Rage and jumps into the backline, trying to make a play on a fielder.
Sorry, let me pause again, because I want to think. Let's use this as an example, right? If you've ever seen me aim, it could be the worst thing you've ever seen. You might think you're watching a silver player play the game, okay? I used to be a flex support. I was one of the better, I'm going to be biased here, I was one of the best flex supports in the game in 2016. Okay? But I still can't hit anything for my life. Today, the flex supports that are playing the game switched to McCree, aka Violet, and just fucking murdered everybody. That just shows you the level of players of, like, in every single role, people got so much better across the board. But like you say, it's not just Violet things, but that is how a lot of flex supports are. They generally are very good aimers, and they are so much more mechanically skilled than we ever had. Widowmakers, you look at it, people like to talk about Pine, 2018 Pine. Why doesn't Pine get picked up as a hit scan? Dude, back then, Pine hits like, 15% crit accuracy. Not a bad day at the office. You hit 30% crit accuracy, you're a bot. You're like an AI. You're the best player hit scan in the world. These days, if you don't hit 30% crit hit accuracy in a game, you're literally trolling the game as a hit scan. The game is leveled up. And this was really smart, I think, but the way that Houston played this, and also a little ambitious. Sorry, I'm going to go back because I kind of glossed over this. But Houston are baiting Dallas, and this kind of feels like the entirety of the series, right? Of Houston is just baiting Dallas to go. And then all they're waiting for is Dallas to overextend, and we're going to see this here with the Primals and the Echo ults coming from Dallas Fuel. Look at Fearless, look at Doha. Houston is so ready to disengage, right? They didn't even think. Everyone turned, they had bubbles, they had everything. Force the Primal, force the Echo ult. And they're not even doing a whole lot, right? They literally just rally and then stand together. And that is how Houston is playing the game. They're playing so very measured and reactive, while Dallas is playing very explosive and fast. And that was why it was interesting to see these clash of two styles. And then you see how they adjust. Dante's still having a duel on the left side, and then they're going to take the space. They just got out 2 of the ults from Doha and Fearless. Then Dallas goes again. This time they're going to use the grab. They use the nano defensively once again to keep everybody alive. They still haven't moved in. Happy gets the high note. Now it's time to go. As soon as they get an advantage, Houston walks their way forward. But this, like, if you look at the grand scheme of how long this took Houston to push, this was a 40-second to a minute fight. It's also a very dangerous rally by Jaxie. I have a lot of respect for that rally because there's a good potential to just die.
Doha can't do too much about the Tesla cannon. Fearless tries to dive in as well, but another big biotic grenade connection from Crimzo makes it hard for Dallas to...
Custa spoiled like one round. Oh yeah, I've spoiled this game so many times. If you're watching, you should not be watching these reviews if you don't want to be spoiled. I'm not casually watching the game. I'm pausing a ton and I'm looking at stuff and shit. Arns isn't even an Al anymore? No. Arns went to Valorant. He retired at the end of last year due to... I think he said he was having, like, mental issues in terms of just, like, competing at the highest level in Overwatch. I'm sure living in the US weighs that toll on you as well. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he just wanted to live in Korea. Just couldn't handle that. But he actually is now playing Valorant. Teams without a good tracer are going to have problems with the Outlaws. Honestly, you can say that about a lot of teams. Try playing against the Shock without a good tracer. Striker will literally... I don't know if you guys saw this, but at the end of it, when Shock won that series, it was like, Striker was literally yawning. He's like... Okay, just another day at the office. Dicking on some kids. Yeah. It's early for gamers, that's true.
Trying to stay in a safe position, but also getting enough throughput because you're playing with a Lucio here or a Brig in some.
Did you try playing against Shock as well? Yeah.
Always get that healing map. Here come the fuel though. It's going to be Sombra Tracer with their dive.
Ons came in, slapped kids around, and then frolicked on to his next adventure. Exactly. All right, so now we're in overtime for both. Both managed to cap it out. We've moved on from the brawl ever happening in this map. Now we're playing double bubble for both sides. It's interesting that Dallas Fuel recognized that that's probably where we're going to end up and go play the Brig Anna instead of the Lucio Moira. Kind of seems like Dallas Fuel want to play the Lucio and Moira in expectation that they might be playing against the brawl. They like the Lucio and Moira where they can just engage fast, play hard and fast, or just anything that isn't going to be the double bubble mirror. But if they're playing Winston Zaya themselves, then they're probably just going to take the mirror.
Do you see how he's sort of
Mirror play. I feel better. I'm 31 and I missed this game. Yeah. Hey, we still exist. We're still around. Old gamers are still around. We're just not as prominent.
grenade connection, but there is protection available. Here you can see the support.
So once again, Houston is playing very tempered, right? They give a lot of space. They give Dallas a lot of control. Unfortunately, Juby dies though, which it's kind of we didn't really get to see exactly what happened there, but it's a really bad death. Like Juby only at 32% ult charge as well. I don't know what happened, but it wasn't great.
Here's a nano boosted Fearless.
There's Nano Fearless in, yeah, it just creates too much space. So really bad fight to lose. Just on the on the basis that they didn't get enough ultimates. I guess they do have the nano, and it cost Dallas Fuel their nano, but the EMP from Doha is really the crux right now. It's going to be really hard for Houston to control any space with Doha on that EMP.
Yeah, I feel like it's about Dallas getting in and getting the job done before Echo in a longer fight.
Do you think Ash Tracer, like Korean Contenders or Kree Tracer, is better for double bubble? I think there's merit to Echo, Sombra, Ash. I hate that EMP. I really hate that EMP. It's gonna work, but I don't know if they needed to do that. Couldn't they have just gone to the point? By EMP in the backline, like, as much as, like, Fearless did pop off and they got the kills, so you can't hate it too much. But I feel like so many, like, if anything else went wrong, they could have just, like, nothing could have gotten nothing out of it. Here's Houston's fatal mistake right here. Boom. You can't give this tick. They need to put everything into not giving this tick. Giving 40% is just so... It doesn't seem like much, but it is so costly. Because getting 33% on this point is very hard to do. But Scott, it gets you both support kills. Very rarely do you get such good value out of an EMP on just 2 support liners, right? I think that was kind of Fearless and Doha overexceeding expectations on the double support, right? And I think you know that, right? Yeah, like, and then they don't have the EMP to do this fight, so they walk up, but Houston doesn't have to do anything, right? And they force the grab, but they have the nano to counter. Like, you even see, like, was Crimson holding that nano just for whoever got grabbed? Yeah, like, they didn't even want to engage, right? Like, they didn't even want to nano engage. It's like, Houston's just playing so passive that they're just like, fuck it, use it on somebody. Honestly, here's the fuck up. I think if Hanbin shoots this right here, this is actually a potentially game-winning grab. Right? They have the rally, but just isolating the Zaya isn't enough. But if he hit both supports with this, it would have actually been insane. They probably would have killed both of them. Both supports. Obviously, it's easy to say in hindsight, but that could have been a much better grab. Who follows up on it there? I think you can see Fearless and I guess they don't have a ton, but like I think you can get some damage in there. You might not kill both, but you might kill one. But I just think even then, they're never going, like if you say how is there going to be follow-up? How is there ever going to be follow-up on the Zaya if you let both supports free roam? Like if you leave both supports up there, that Zaya's never going to die. Regardless of the nano boost, that Zaya never dies. So I think you're better off shooting it at the backline and hoping you can kill some. Sparkle pulls the grab. Yeah, I think it's hard. I don't know if Sparkle was going to get there, though. I don't know where Sparkle was in that situation, but...
just trying to look at Dante in 0.25, you know, see how he was able to pull off that stuff. You know,
I was going to say that.
Well, ability, it adds 400 watt. Okay, it adds 200 HP to the pool plus 2 more bubbles. It's pretty big in those late fights.
So Happy will go McCree, McCree Tracer. We talked about when they had the McCree, I believe they switched to the McCree, maybe the Outlaws on their offense for point B, or maybe they actually ran it all the way through. But the McCree was really effective on the high ground, did a nice job.
Okay, let's see how Houston does this. We're going to get a mirror. We're going to see Happy play the McCree, but Doha on the Echo.
I was going to say, when they were hovering the Genji, I wouldn't have even hated the Genji here, because
I don't know how... It was...
did a nice job.
Did Dante get slept?
Putting pressure on Doha as well. On the
Nope, just got dunked on.
I was going to say, when they were hovering the Genji, I wouldn't have even hated the Genji here, because
I just realized Dallas is entirely from Korea. Yes. Dallas Fuel is pretty much a Korean team. They like their entire like coaching staff and all that kind of stuff is Korean as well. But if you don't know a ton of history, it's actually an old Korean team from Element Mystic. You'll also notice if you were paying attention last season, Dallas Fuel is a lot of what Paris Eternal was last season. All the Korean pieces from Paris Eternal is now at Dallas Fuel. Yeah, Dante getting... How does Doha die? Sorry, I was...
Not ideal for Dallas Fuel here. This is onto the point. So even though he's got his back turned to the action, he kind
Because this is another one of... This cannot happen.
of what's happening in 360 degrees around him at all
Just...
times.
Does Dante literally just one-clip Doha?
Nasty sight lines, potentially further back onto the point. So even though he's got his back turned to the action, he kind of, you know, he's aware of what's happening in 360 degrees.
That's just not fair. Like, I literally watched that, and the first thing I think of is, we should nerf Tracer. Like, there's no way you should be able to do that. But the chance, like, that must have been some of the sickest aim ever. I wish I could see that from Dante's perspective. He's not that close.
You know, he's aware of what's happening in 300
Doha's like 80.
times. Doha down early. That's
Disgusting. Just fucking walks it. Matt, let's listen. I think Matt summarizes everyone's thoughts at the exact moment. Let's listen to Matt in high sound.
around him at all times. Doha down early. That's not ideal for Dallas Fuel here. This
Oh? Oh?
is dangerous now as the Outlaws start to creep a little.
Okay. You take those.
A lot more aggressive now, and Dante is at the center of it. The whirlwind here, just dishing out damage, and Fearless has to get a bubble there. He gets nano boosted as well by Field.
Wait, I can watch in the viewer? Wait, can I watch these games in the viewer?
What's more, and getting falls. The Outlaws now, they are looking proper.
Well, I might have it as well.
Dante's pulse bomb may not even be required right now, and great healing given to him there.
I'll see if I still got that. I'll see if I still got that good shit access, okay, guys? And I'll hook us up for the future reviews.
they're going to be able to take this. As it looks like Han
Yeah, we were told to wait last season, I think.
Outlaws might be able to take this.
I'll ask.
Any of their ultimates. There goes Sparkle. Doha's back in the mix.
I'll ask. We'll see what happens.
If you're Houston, you can hold on to all these ultimates. They have 6 ultimates potentially going into this second
Still,
point.
this fight has taken long enough that although Dallas
Look at how many ults Houston Outlaws. Also, production's not listening, but I did talk to them about this. They need to be really careful about expanding these views in team fights because they expanded a couple of times into the kill feed and it was annoying.
and they get a pulse bomb. And
Ask for forgiveness, not permission. Yeah, maybe you're right.
Yes, but you have 6 ultimates on the other side.
Well, I saw nothing. Yeah, shout. We're cool.
You are in prime position for the Outlaws to win this series.
Piggy, they're quite vocal by the looks of things as the Outlaws know just how close they are.
Outlaws literally have 6 ultimates. How do they fuck this up?
The Lone Star Showdown hangs
So they're playing passive again. They're playing the same style of like, oh yeah, we're just gonna chill. Oh, that's right.
pulse bomb there.
Maybe that's why people are like, Piggy sucks. They literally just remember this one play. This is like, this, Mitch actually brings it up. This is very Somin, this is very, not Somin, so this is very Nene Grav. The idea is good. The execution is abysmal. Like, he wants to get Sparkle with this, right? And he thinks the counter dive's happening, and he should, like, that's actually very close to Sparkle getting pulled in here. It's like kind of unfortunate he doesn't. But Yeah, that grab is good. It's just executed awfully. Like Sparkle doesn't die, so then they use a grab for free. They've also rallied. They trade a rally for a primal, which isn't worth it, and then Piggy dies, and it's like that. Like this fight is actually so much on Piggy that it does make you feel bad.
I mean, that is a huge hold for Dallas. So the grab from Piggy.
Yeah, and that's, I think a lot of people reference this as Piggy sucks. It's like shit happens, bro. Piggy sus, yo, Piggy sus, dude.
And then Juby ends up using the rally, trying to keep everybody up through Fearless's prime.
The whiff grab is going to brush off his first game nerves. I would rather have an off tank that is willing to throw those grabs than someone who is just a safety Sally fucking throwing it like into you know, oh, let's throw it at this guy, it'll be fine. Like, I would rather see him go for that big hero win. If he hits that Tracer, that would have been a really big pick, and they probably walk on a point and just win the fight, right? Like, I don't mind taking that risk. Piggy collected the PayPal money that fight. Piggy showing his allegiances. That was pretty okay. I think it was pretty solid the rest of the game. Yeah, I think Piggy was good. This grab was actually sick. We'll get a replay of it because we don't really see it, but that was a really good grab by Hanbin. It cost them a lot, like the nano and the rally, but it was a really good grab.
Custa now have to get it done with Primal Rage and Pulse Bomb, the exact ultimates that Dallas were left with after that nasty point A take.
Crimzo threw the nano. I think Crimzo thought it was winnable, which is, like, as you said, you can't put it on one person. Crimzo definitely fucked that up. Lift off! Oh, okay. Do you see Jexay's post-game interview? I didn't see it. I didn't. Anything interesting in it? Yeah. I didn't get that reference from Mitch. That one went over my head. Yeah, it's just having to touch. Nah! I assume this was you throughout the entire series. Alright, here we go. Final map. But we got double bubble, echo dive. And I think this might be what becomes more prominent, especially on King of the Hill, double bubble dive. Maybe this will end up being the meta that everyone plays. Houston once again playing the more passive role and giving a lot more space. Happy wins the Tracer duel though, in terms of forcing the recall earlier. But Django dies. It's kind of really hard to tell what happened in that fight, but Contenders Korea 100% plays Ash Tracer. Yeah, I know Korean Contenders and that kind of style of regular double bubble in the East is way more prevalent to playing a hit scan than playing the Echo. And I'm curious to see if that's going to translate to the Overwatch League teams as well, or if that is going to be a Contenders thing. I'm not sure. I'm worried if Echo Ash is just too hard to play at the highest level. Happy gets Repel for free. I don't know how that happens. I don't know how Happy kills Repel, but... And this is sort of what I was referencing when I said we saw Happy play Tracer, and it was pretty solid, right? Like, it's not it's not world class, but it'll do. Dude, Doha with the Winston mechanics right here. I actually remember, I watched it when I was watching his live. I was like, dude, Fearless's Winston mechanics are so clean, and that ended up being Doha.
With the duplicate, see though he'll have a grab coming back, and just like this, we're up to 50% plus on the point for the Dallas Fuel. They'll also have a nano boost here for Fearless, probably like on the corner.
They should Dante Tracer Happy Ash and he would pull on Doha's Eka. Yeah, but I feel like they must have tried that, right? They must have tried, like, if they could put Dante on Tracer, they would. Maybe there's like this weird preference in NA where they like to play the Echo more than the Ash, but I feel like if they could put Tracer on the Dante on the Tracer, they would, and then Happy on the Ash. It just seems like a fucking recipe for success. Dude, Dante literally just fucking dive bombs as an Echo Zarya.
Just throw it out. I mean, you usually don't expect Zarya to just come
Nothing is more satisfying. Dude, Smurf actually pounded. Smurf smurfed in fucking Overwatch League in that Gibraltar game. It wasn't even close. That was a sick play by Dante. Yeah, you don't see many people do that kind of stuff where they take the air and then they come down with the copy.
Outlaws flip the point rather quickly. Still just about like a, one fight territory here for the Dallas Fuel.
Houston should be able to hold this for a while. Right? They got the piggy grab. This should be a pretty free grab. Alright, Happy loses that one. Oh, and he loses the Happy. He actually got outclassed by Sparkle in that one. Yeah, that grab was bad. Wait, what's happening over here? How did this happen? That feels like they were on very different pages. They just consolidated onto Piggy, they would have won that fight. 100%. But because of that, like, if they didn't get the cap here, that would have been like such a bad fight for Dallas. Oh, nice stick by Happy. And nice grenade by Crimzo. Yeah, another fat nade. Yeah, he's hit a couple of big nades on the backline right now. Why Crimzo got Happy got no pack? Yeah, that was just. I don't know if he was like out of LOS and stuff like that.
Still, Yellow's not with much to work with. They'll have a duplicate, right? But duplicate and grab and nano available.
Choi's defense matrix. Choi showed why he is one of the best off tanks in the world. His D.Va was actually just so clean. It made it feel so oppressive. Just like watching it was like, what do you do here? Happy gets the counterplay. It's kind of interesting that Happy and Sparkle are just kind of playing their own game. Alright, Hambin with the grab. Who's in that room? Is that Doha and Winston? Alright, they trade the grabs. Yeah, they... If I feel like... If Doha's gonna go in with this primal... There needs to be follow-up, right? If Doha's in here, I think Fearless and Hambin need to follow. Like, if they just nanoed... In this exact moment, right? If you're Dallas, if you nano Fearless and he walks in this room, it's over. It literally is just over. But they kind of play a little slow. So Doha gets isolated. The grab comes out.
Oh, they're gonna get double grab. Oh no.
Yeah, I mean, this is nasty stuff.
Dante just needs a bit of damage and he'll have another grab available. May not really need it. It's more to...
Oh, that grab is so dirty.
That is so disgusting. Well, that's what Echo can do for you right now. And then Doha gets chased down. The Outlaws...
Wait, who said Choi overrated? People keep saying Choi is overrated. I'm like, mod check? Oh, okay, sorry. I thought you said someone in my chat said Choi is overrated. I was about to ban that shit. People who say Choi is overrated are people who just want to be edgy and be like, you know who I think is the best? Krong. I think Krong's the greatest off-tank. It's like, okay, shut the fuck up. Okay? Krong's great. But Choi is fucking a god. Okay? I feel attacked 4 great. Yeah, if you think Krong is better than Choi, Krong has been great. He had a great season last season. That's great. Choi is a 2-time champion that has literally been like a hard carry for most of those 2 seasons.
Because what you saw there is like Fearless and Hanbin just kind of playing in no man's land in the middle of the point, and they're almost just like looking around like, are we going? Are we gonna stay? Are we gonna commit? And nobody really made a decision there. And that is
Choi is amazing. Yeah, he is. He is. He really is. 2019 Overwatch League Grand Finals MVP Choi Hyobin. I'm getting some real Danny Lim Lim fucking vibes from that. And then we even went more meta and we had Danny Lim Lim throw to Danny Lim Lim on the desk to work with Danny Lim Lim and co. Oh, those claws, of course. I know Dante is good at Echo. When I watch his stream, his Qs are all rolls and flexes all the time. Yeah. Dante's very good at Echo. I see what you mean, though, of like... Dante's very good at Echo, but I would still like to see him play the Tracer and they could play the Ashe. If they could make that work and that is a better comp, which theoretically against an Echo, it should be. But it's interesting that they don't run that. Doha gets caught again. I honestly think Doha didn't have a very good series. Like, I think Doha's first deaths were way too high, and I don't think he had crazy impact on a lot of the heroes he played. I think he struggled a little bit. Does Happy not play Ashe? No, Happy plays Ashe. Happy's a hit scan player.
Point that goes to the Outlaws first.
Once they
If they
cap
want
it.
it, I mean, they can just leave it. I mean, they can just leave it if they want. But most
This is why Happy Dante is not underrated, IMO, because you want Dante on both roles and it hurts them against the best. I agree. But I think, like, even now, I was kind of impressed with Happy's Tracer, and then Dante and the Echo is still very good. Like, I don't think Tracer Echo is... I don't think this matchup is bad. I just think it could be better. Like, I think every single synergy has this issue of, like, especially when you have your Echo player is also your Tracer player. Kind of how... Because that's the same issue that Shanghai Dragons walks into, right, as well, when they play Lip Fleta. They have the exact same issue of... They don't have Fleta for both. So I'm not sure if I can 100% agree with that, because I think they can get away with doing both. And I actually really like the flexibility of both. Because I was worried that Happy was going to just be that hit scan bot, and that's going to force Dante to have to play the Tracer, and then they're going to have to bring in KSF or Hydration. And I just... That feels clunky to me. So, especially for, like, one-time things. So they have way more depth in there with DMNS, and that's the I definitely agree with that. If we're talking about the depth of their entire DPS lineups, I agree that Shanghai is way better because, you know, I don't think you can compare DM Erster to Hydration KSF on the bench, right? So I agree, but I think if we were just talking about these two players, this is their DPS lineup of Dante, Happy, and Lip Fleta. I think they do run into the same issues, and I don't think there are many DPS duos that don't, where there is going to be some situations where they're not going to end up on the perfect thing. Like you see it happen with Soul Dynasty. Shock just switch their players around like crazy. They like don't... Shock doesn't seem to value synergy of 6 players. They just put in the raw power that they have, and I think that was proven today with Violet going onto the McCree. They just put who they think is going to play the best on that single map that is about to be played. They play those 6 players. And that's impressive to do. That's hard to do. I think you'd rather Sparkle and Echo here. Yeah, and I think that is the big issue that Dallas runs into is I don't like Doha on a lot of things of flex DPS over Sparkle. Other than on like Sombra, right? So Sparkle's, like Doha can't play the Tracer, theoretically, right? That's what it seems like. So therefore, their DPS lineup... Dallas's DPS lineup is a little clunky right now, and it feels very weird.
Whereas Doha's able to, copy a Zaya, and there's 2 more bubbles, 1 more for Doha, another for a teammate. That's kind of wrong.
I mean, look, the Brig is tanky, but at this point, like teams know to kind of like you can focus the Brig down, and she's not as survivable as kind of like Brig 1.0, as you would call it. Where the Zarya, you just get so much more impact with the bubbles.
If Smurf, Striker, and Choi has so much synergy, but they take Striker out is that thing. I think it's honestly Smurf, Choice, Violet synergy that is just consistent across the board for them. If they keep those 3 players out, they can put anyone else in those 3 roles. Doha gets the pick on Jangu, which is good. Playing that aggressive style again, like Houston just wasn't ready. It's kind of interesting to see how these 2 teams play. Like, Dallas was definitely way more aggressive than Houston almost all the time. Think about Via DPS, dude. As I said, it fucking pounded. Great stick by Happy. And this is sort of like, you keep seeing it. It's like Happy didn't take over the game, but he made the sticks that he needed to make. He did the damage. He did the cleanup that he needed to do right there, right? This is so dangerous having Fearless stay alive on the point because they could easily... This is like a terrifying moment if you were ever a player because like Fearless gets piggy and if they can stall out this point, they just like, they get so much percentage from it. But Houston Outlaws does manage to stem the bleeding and get the picks that they need to get. This play by Repel of coming back to the point almost lost them so much. If Repel dies here, it would have actually been awful. It would have been like such a bad play. Jangu getting hard in the paint. It's kind of interesting how Houston just give this, and I don't know why. Like, this feels like such a big mistake giving Dallas this point. Like, why would you give this to them? Like, they dove the backline, I understand that, but giving them this point puts you on a clock. Like, I think this is a massive fuck up by Houston, just giving them the point back.
Dallas have to be so tight.
And like you see, like Django all of a sudden feels like he needs to pressure the point. And Humber's just looking for something to grab. Like he's just waiting for someone to walk forward on Hunt. This is the second time it's actually happened for Hanbin. That's worth noting as well, is that Hanbin did this at the same point on Well, where he's just looking for something to grab, and he ends up overextending into a place that he probably shouldn't go to and using the grab. I don't think he gets, yeah, he gets punished here as well. Like, he should just throw it. There aren't divas. Just throw it from fucking a while away, or throw it at somebody. He doesn't need to get that close, and he got punished for it, and that happened both times. So, yeah, like that it did happen multiple times throughout this series, and he's got to be careful of that. Of like, he seems to be getting punished more for his grab than he gets value. Like, obviously he had that sick one on Volskaya that I highlighted, where he threw it from distance. I think when there's not a diva, like, it's hard to get out of that mentality of they don't have a diva, so you can just throw it. But how does Django get repel this early in the fight? Oh, he just waits, just drops down and just fucking mauls him with a nano. And that, like, where's Jexay? Where's Jexay in the grand scheme of things? Like, how is Jexay not saving repel? Jexay's here. Repel's here. Jexay's here. Jexay's... Oh, repel dies very quickly. I think he gets double shot by Crimzo. Does he get double shot by Crimzo? Like, look at his health. That's not a monkey. Unless he used his jump pack there and landed on him. I don't really know what's happening, but Repel died actually very quickly, so that might not be on Jexay. Don't get, yeah, he might have been a jump pack kill with the nano, and that's what did all the damage, but... Fearless's primals were actually so good throughout this entire series. And then look at this play by Houston. They sleep the Fearless, they leave him to sleep, and then they win the series. Fearless almost clutched. He almost clutched so many times. Where replay viewers useful? Yeah, we'll use that in the future. And that's it. And that's it. That was the first. That was when Houston Scrimbucks came and cashed in, probably for once. I will say that it's worth noting that there is a reason that I don't have Houston in my top 5 NA compared to Dallas, who I have 4th. I think if Dallas have a hit scan player and they smooth out the issues that exist with their DPS lineup, they're in a much better spot. And I think everyone can agree to that. They seem very hamstrung by their compositions of just not having a hit scan. And I think that's worth noting. But I think Houston looked really good. They gave a lot more looks than just the brawl that I was expecting from them. They played double shield. They played the double bubble. They took it to Dallas on a double bubble. They played the brawl well. So I'm really excited to see more of Houston against other teams that isn't Dallas and see how they play. But I think this isn't... We're not on the Dallas cycle of misery yet, okay? Let's just hold off before we're there, okay? We can stay excited for Dallas. It was still a very good series. And we'll go from there. I'm not going to watch the Gladiators game right now. I'm fucking tired, dude. I gotta wake up at 8 AM as well. So I'm gonna watch that game. I'll probably, unless there are better games that happen, we don't really know what's gonna happen in the next few days. Obviously, Atlanta vs Mayhem tomorrow is the game that we'll watch and we'll review, but we'll go from there. I do want to put this review to end though. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We're gonna be doing a ton of Overwatch League reviews. Make sure to follow, subscribe, all that kind of shit. And I'll see you guys soon. Peace out. Love you all.